In the vast glittering expanse of the Galactic Racing Consortium's annual event, the universe seemed to hold its breath. Massive starships from 100 different civilizations lined up, their hulls gleaming with technologies developed over millennia. Sleek, angular designs that spoke of advanced engineering and cosmic superiority filled the preparation area. Among these technological marvels, the human entry looked almost laughable. The Terran Challenger sat at the far end of the launch platform, its metallic skin dulled and seemingly cobbled together from spare parts. Most alien racers didn't even acknowledge its presence, treating it like an embarrassing mistake. Captain June Park stood beside the ship, his posture calm and collected. He was a tall man with dark eyes that seemed to hold more depth than the entire racing platform. His chief engineer, Hana Kim, worked furiously on the ship's external panels, her hands moving with a precision that suggested something more was happening beneath the surface. The Krelltak delegation, a reptilian race, known for their technological prowess, approached the human team. Their lead representative, a towering creature with scales that shifted colors like living metal, clicked its mandibles in what could only be described as pure mockery. "Humans," the Krelltak leader hissed. "You cannot be serious about competing in the intergalactic speed trials. This is a prestigious event. Your ship looks like something pulled from a salvage yard." June didn't respond immediately. He watched as Hana made one final adjustment to a small panel near the ship's primary engine coupling. A subtle blue light pulsed momentarily, so quick that most would have missed it. The racing platform buzzed with anticipation. Holographic displays showed the technical specifications of each competing ship. The human entry was listed at the very bottom, with specifications that seemed almost primitive compared to the other entries. Most alien teams were using quantum fold drives, gravimetric displacement engines, and subspace navigation systems that could calculate trillion-mile routes in microseconds. The Terran Challenger appeared to have nothing more than what looked like modified fusion generators and what seemed to be outdated navigation computers. Nearby, a group of Zentari researchers, known for their advanced computational technologies, were openly laughing. Their ship looked like a crystal sculpture that could slice through space itself, all elegant curves and impossible geometries. Next to it, the human ship looked like a child's metal toy. "They do not understand the complexity of interstellar racing," one Zentari researcher said to another, mandible clicking with amusement. "Look at their primitive energy routing. It's like they're still learning to make fire while we dance among stars." Hana overheard the comment but showed no reaction. Her fingers continued to move across a handheld diagnostic tool, her eyes focused and calm. June watched the preparations around them. Every other ship had teams of technicians, complex loading procedures, and sophisticated pre-race rituals. The human team consisted of just two people, himself and Hana, with no additional support. The race would cover multiple star systems, navigate through treacherous gravitational fields, and require split-second decisions that would determine survival. Conventional wisdom suggested the human entry had zero chance of completing the course, let alone competing. As the final countdown began, something unusual happened. While other ships prepared with elaborate energy warm-ups and complex system checks, the Terran Challenger remained almost eerily quiet. No dramatic light shows, no complex energy signatures, just two humans, one ship, and a universe that was about to be very surprised. The Krelltak leader made one final mocking gesture, a sweeping movement of its scaled arm that seemed to dismiss the human entry entirely. "Prepare to be eliminated," it hissed, turning back to its own magnificent racing vessel. June simply smiled. A smile that held secrets. A smile that suggested something extraordinary was about to happen. The race was moments from beginning. Hundreds of civilizations watched, thousands of ships prepared, and in the corner, almost forgotten, the Terran Challenger waited. Some stories begin with a bang. This one would start with a whisper. The Terran Challenger wasn't just another spaceship. Its design told a story of human creativity that most alien races couldn't understand. Where other civilizations saw complexity, The human engineers saw simplicity. Where others built massive machines, they created something remarkably different. Hana Kim understood the ship's heart better than anyone. Each panel, each circuit, each tiny component told a story of unconventional thinking. The ship's external frame looked basic, almost crude. But beneath that unremarkable surface lay technologies that would challenge everything known about space travel. The primary propulsion system was unlike anything in the galactic database. Traditional racing ships used quantum fold drives that bent space around them. The Terran Challenger used something entirely different, a system that worked with space instead of against it. Deep inside the ship's core, a unique quantum adaptive circuit hummed with potential. It wasn't just a computer system, it was almost like a living brain that could learn and adapt in milliseconds. Where alien technologies followed strict programmed paths, this system could make decisions faster than any known computational matrix. June watched Hana work, understanding that what looked simple was actually revolutionary. The ship's energy routing was so unconventional that it would make most alien engineers laugh, until they realized what it could actually do. They won't understand, Hana muttered, her fingers tracing complex patterns on a diagnostic screen. Our approach is too different. The ship's exterior was deliberately misleading. Dull metallic panels that looked like they'd been patched together multiple times, exposed circuit connections that seemed random. But each connection had a purpose. Each patch was a deliberate engineering choice. Most racing ships were designed to fight against the universe's natural forces. The Terran Challenger was designed to dance with them. Its adaptive algorithms could read gravitational waves, predict stellar movements, and adjust course faster than any known technology. A small cooling system near the main engine looked almost primitive. But it contained microscopic quantum regulators that could manage heat distribution in ways that would make most alien engineers question their entire understanding of thermodynamics. The navigation system was another marvel. Where other ships used complex star charts and predetermined routes, this system could recalculate entire journey paths in fractions of a second. It didn't just navigate, it anticipated. Hana remembered the years of secret development. How her team had been laughed out of multiple research facilities. How they'd worked in small laboratories, pushing boundaries that seemed impossible. They hadn't just built a ship. They'd created a philosophical statement about human potential. Mass doesn't mean power, she often told her teammates. Efficiency is about understanding, not complexity. The ship's energy consumption was another surprise. While other racing vessels burned through massive power reserves, the Terran Challenger could operate on a fraction of the expected energy. Its systems were so efficient that they could potentially run on what other ships would consider a minimal power supply. June walked around the ship, touching panels almost affectionately. He knew they were carrying more than a racing vessel. They were carrying a message about human innovation. The quantum adaptive circuits could learn, not just process information, but genuinely learn. Each millisecond of the race would be absorbed, analyzed, and integrated into the ship's operational matrix. It wasn't just a machine, it was becoming a living system. Outside, alien engineers continued to laugh and mock. They saw a ship that looked like it was built from salvage. They didn't see the revolution hiding in plain sight. A small diagnostic screen flickered. Complex mathematical equations danced across its surface, calculations that would make most computational systems overheat. But here, they processed smoothly, efficiently. The Terran Challenger wasn't just a ship, it was a promise. A promise that human innovation could challenge everything previously understood about space travel. The race was hours away, but the real competition had already begun. Hana looked at June and smiled. They both knew something the rest of the universe was about to learn. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The starting platform erupted with blinding light. Massive energy fields activated, creating a tunnel of pure electromagnetic potential that stretched between distant star systems. Hundreds of racing vessels prepared to launch, their engines humming with power that could destroy small planets. June's hands moved smoothly across the Terran Challenger's control panel. Unlike other pilots who used complex holographic interfaces, his controls looked almost primitive. But each touch was precise, calculated. Hana watched the external sensors, her breathing steady. The ship around them felt different, alive, almost, breathing with its own rhythm. The race course was brutal. It would cut through 3 different star systems, navigate multiple gravitational fields, and require split-second decisions that would challenge even the most advanced racing technologies. Alien ships prepared with elaborate energy warm-ups, their hulls glowing with complex computational matrices. The Terran Challenger remained quiet. No dramatic light shows, no complex energy signatures. When the launch signal fired, massive ships surged forward. Quantum fold drives created tunnels of compressed space. Gravitational displacement engines pushed vessels faster than light itself. The alien racing teams moved like liquid metal, their ships transforming and adapting with each microsecond. The human ship appeared sluggish. It trailed behind, almost embarrassingly slow. Alien spectators began laughing. The Krelltak delegation watched with open mockery, their scaled faces showing pure contempt. Humans should not be allowed in serious competitions, one alien commentator announced through the Universal Communication Network. Look how far behind they are. But something was happening that no one could see. Inside the Terran Challenger, Hana's quantum adaptive circuits were doing something extraordinary. While other ships followed predetermined racing paths, this system was learning. Each millisecond of movement was being analyzed, processed, integrated. June remained calm. His hands moved occasionally, making micro-adjustments that seemed almost random to an outside observer. But each movement was calculated with mathematical precision that would make most computational systems overheat. The first gravitational challenge approached, a massive stellar cluster that would crush most ships. Conventional racing technology required complex navigation algorithms to avoid total destruction. Ships would typically slow down, calculate precise routing. The Terran Challenger did something different. Instead of fighting the gravitational field, it seemed to dance with it. Where other ships would make wide, careful arcs, this human vessel moved like water, flexible, adaptive, almost alive. Alien racing teams started noticing something was wrong. Their tracking systems couldn't predict the human ship's movements. It wasn't following any known racing protocol. "This is impossible," a Zentari computational expert muttered, watching the live race feed. The human ship was moving in ways that defied known physics. Hana's smile was subtle. Their unconventional design was working perfectly. The race continued. Massive stellar bodies passed like blurred lights. Gravitational waves that would tear most ships apart became pathways for the Terran Challenger. Its adaptive systems were reading the universe itself, turning cosmic challenges into opportunities. June understood something most racing teams didn't. Space wasn't something to be conquered. It was something to be understood, to be worked with. Halfway through the first star system, something remarkable happened. The human ship, which had been trailing at the absolute back of the racing pack, began to move differently. Not faster, not with more power, but with a fluidity that seemed almost organic. Alien racing teams started to get nervous. The Krelltak leader's color-shifting scales began to show signs of stress, a biological indicator of genuine concern. Their most advanced racing vessel was being challenged by a ship that looked like it was built from spare parts. The universe watched. Hundreds of civilizations tuned into the race feed, and something extraordinary was about to happen. The Terran Challenger was just getting started. The universe shifted. Midway through the complex multi-system racing course, something changed, dramatically. The Terran Challenger began executing maneuvers that defied every known principle of space navigation. Alien racing teams started panicking. Their sophisticated tracking systems couldn't predict the human ship's movements. It was like watching water move through impossible spaces, fluid, unpredictable, alive. Hana's fingers danced across the diagnostic screens. Each movement was a conversation with the ship's quantum adaptive circuits. Where other navigation systems saw obstacles, their system saw opportunities. Gravitational fields that would crush most vessels became pathways of potential. June remained calm. His hands made micro-adjustments that looked almost random to outside observers, but each touch was a calculated mathematical symphony. The first major shock came when the Terran Challenger approached a massive stellar cluster, a region that had destroyed multiple racing vessels in previous competitions. Conventional wisdom suggested a wide, careful approach. Alien ships began reducing speed, preparing complex navigation protocols. The human ship did something completely unexpected. Instead of avoiding the cluster, it moved directly through it, but not in a straight line. It weaved, it danced, it moved, like something alive, using the gravitational forces themselves as a propulsion mechanism. "This is impossible," muttered a Zentari computational expert watching the live race feed. The ship wasn't just navigating, it was transforming the very concept of navigation. The Krelltak racing team's lead navigator's scales began changing colors rapidly, a biological indicator of extreme stress. Their most advanced vessel was being outmaneuvered by a ship that looked like it had been assembled from spare parts. Quantum adaptive circuits inside the Terran Challenger were doing something revolutionary. They weren't just processing information, they were learning. Each millisecond of the race was being absorbed, analyzed, integrated into the ship's operational matrix. Alien spectators watched in growing disbelief. The human ship wasn't just competing, it was rewriting the rules of space travel. Gravitational waves that would tear most ships apart became pathways. Stellar radiation that would normally require complex shielding became an energy source. The ship moved like it was having a conversation with the universe itself. Hana understood something most alien engineers didn't. Technology wasn't about complexity, it was about understanding. Their ship wasn't fighting against space, it was working with it. The race entered its most challenging phase. Multiple star systems converged, creating gravitational fields so complex that most racing vessels would require weeks of computational planning. The Terran Challenger entered these regions like a living thing, flexible, adaptive, almost breathing. Tracking systems across multiple alien civilizations began malfunctioning. The human ship's movements were so unconventional that computational matrices simply couldn't process what they were seeing. "It's not possible," repeated racing commentators. But it was happening. June made another subtle adjustment. To an outside observer, it might have looked like a random movement, but it was a precise calculation that used the surrounding stellar environment as a propulsion mechanism. The ship wasn't just racing, it was transforming the very concept of space travel. Alien racing teams began communicating frantically. Their most advanced vessels were being outmaneuvered by a ship that looked like it had been assembled in a basic workshop. The quantum adaptive circuits were learning faster than any known computational system. As the race approached its most challenging segment, the Terran Challenger wasn't just competing, it was making a statement about human potential. The universe watched. Hundreds of civilizations tuned into the race feed, and something extraordinary was unfolding. Humanity had arrived, and nothing would ever be the same again. The race was far from over, but the message was clear. Sometimes the most revolutionary technology looks the most simple. The final checkpoint approached like a distant thunderstorm of potential. The Terran Challenger wasn't just competing anymore, it was dominating in a way no one had predicted. Alien racing teams watched in total shock. Their most advanced vessels, technologies developed over thousands of years, were being outmaneuvered by a human ship that looked like it was assembled from spare parts. June's hands remained steady. Hana's eyes never left the diagnostic screens. Each moment was a calculation, each movement a statement about human potential. The last segment of the race cut through a region of space so complex that previous racing attempts had ended in total destruction. Gravitational fields twisted like living creatures. Stellar radiation created corridors that could slice through most ship materials in milliseconds. The Krelltak lead racers' communication channels erupted with panic. Their most sophisticated vessel was falling behind, its quantum fold drive struggling against the strange movements of the human ship. Something extraordinary was happening. The Terran Challenger didn't just navigate the challenging space segment, it transformed it. Where other ships saw obstacles, this vessel saw opportunities. Gravitational waves became pathways. Stellar radiation became energy sources. Hana's quantum adaptive circuits were doing more than processing information. They were learning. Each microsecond of the race was being absorbed, analyzed, integrated into the ship's operational matrix. Spectators across hundreds of civilizations watched in growing disbelief. The human ship moved like something alive, fluid, adaptive, almost intelligent. Impossible, repeated alien computational experts. But it was happening. As the final moments approached, the Terran Challenger wasn't just racing. It was making a statement about human innovation. Where other civilizations saw technology as a way to fight against the universe, humans saw it as a way to work with it. The ship crossed systems like water moving through impossible spaces. Gravitational fields that would crush most vessels became playgrounds of potential. The quantum adaptive circuits read the universe itself, turning cosmic challenges into opportunities. Alien racing teams began communicating frantically. Their tracking systems were failing. The human ship's movements defied every known principle of space navigation. June made a final, subtle adjustment. To an outside observer, it might have looked like a random movement, but it was a precise calculation that used the surrounding stellar environment as a propulsion mechanism. The finish line approached. No one believed what was happening. The Terran Challenger wasn't just going to complete the race, it was going to win. Completely, utterly, devastatingly alien. Spectators fell silent. The universal communication networks went quiet. Minutes before any other competitor, the human ship crossed the final checkpoint. Complete. Absolute. Victory. The Galactic Racing Consortium's lead advisor, a being who had witnessed thousands of races across multiple millennia, could only stare in absolute disbelief. Hana and June remained calm. This wasn't just a race. This was a demonstration of human potential. In the moments after crossing the finish line, something remarkable happened. The Terran Challenger's systems began broadcasting data. Not as a challenge, not as a threat, but as an invitation. An invitation to understand. Alien civilizations that had moments ago mocked human technology now watched in stunned silence. The ship's quantum adaptive circuits were sharing everything. Every calculation, every movement, every adaptation. The race was over. But something much bigger was just beginning. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, not with weapons, not with threats, but with understanding. The universal communication networks began lighting up. Requests for information, requests to understand. June looked at Hana. She smiled. They both knew something the rest of the universe was about to learn. Humanity wasn't just a civilization. They were explorers, innovators, dreamers, and nothing would ever be the same again. The race was finished, but the real journey was just beginning.